because
maybe he did.
Well,
was it $50 million?
But that came from a fake source, though. That website is not credible. So we really don't know.
Okay.
But
I think all these things are distractions. When stuff happens like this, it's distracting us from what we're supposed to be looking at.
Right.
It's taking time and effort away from our God from distraction. So I think it's another tactic from the defeated foe to take our eyes off where our help come from.
Right.
So all these things are just distraction, and you're accountable when you hinder those folks that really need to be healed.
Right.
So everybody gonna be judged by one.
Right. I totally agree.
Yeah,
that we have
at this point, I think it's more than just a distraction. I think it's a time for correction.
Absolutely.
Right.
When you have an error like that, when you have something that happens like that, you have to begin to look at it to correct what happened so that it does not repeat itself again. That was the whole point of the Old Testament. Look at what you keep going through. Look at how I keep having to whoop you in this situation
I
because
want
you
to be
keep
in the
going
wilderness
back.
40 years,
Right.
11-day journey, 40 years.
Right. So what I'm saying is, there comes a point where you have to look at the situation and say, okay, what was I supposed to learn from this to be corrected by? How was this supposed to correct me? So it's got to be a sense of correction now.
Or you're going to keep taking the same test. You
Exactly.
go round and round,
You're
round
going
and
to continue to have the same
issue.
issue. Homosexuality is going to continue to grow behind the church and in the pulpit.
It's a serious spirit.
It's going to continue to develop where it's developing, and it's going to continue to destroy where it's destroying. But what has to happen is there has to be a sense of correction.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. Even with saying that, I want to kind of shift and talk about business, mixing business and ministry together.
Okay.
And kind of help some of our business owners, since today we're launching BigMouthRadio show.
Absolutely.
Let's try to help the business owners, because what a coincidence we all sitting in here today and that we're all business owners. Right. But what would each of you say, or what advice would you give to those who desire to start a ministry or those who desire to start a business, because a lot of people don't have the training or the tools to actually get started. Everyone has an idea, but nobody necessarily has it on paper.
Right. Which way do you want the answer first? You want it from ministry standpoint, or you want it from the business standpoint?
Or from a man's standpoint or from a woman's standpoint.
It doesn't. Both.
Yeah.
Both. It doesn't. It doesn't matter.
In ministry, I believe you first have to hear from God. You can't just begin ministry without hearing first from God, and then you need to take that information to your leader, and then let your leader cultivate you in that direction. And that's precisely what I did. I can only speak from my experience. So I went to my leader at the time and I said, hey, I know God has sent me here to sit underneath you so that you can show me what it is to pastor without slaughtering the sheep. So I learned a lot through hands-on and observation with Pastor Drew A. Hogan Sr. So went from that, and when I launched, now check this out, this might mess a whole lot of people up. When I launched, I didn't go back to Pastor Drew A. Hogan Sr. as my spiritual father. Why? Because his assignment was to teach me and show me how to tend to the sheep. My spiritual father and our overseers came after I watched them handle overseeing other ministries.
Right.
So I saw the integrity they had, Apostle Donald Cleveland and Prophetess Francis Cleveland. So I watched them handle other ministries that were in their care, and I watched how they were diligent in resolving issues, how they took their time and used wisdom, discernment to put correction in place for those ministries. So what happened was I did an observation as to those that I said, okay, God, I need you to show me who these overseers are supposed to be. And I actually had 3 that God was showing me. And he said, now you go and observe. And then I'll show you through their actions which one you need to choose. So before I even said, okay, this is the ministry I'm going to launch into, God had already given me vision. He had already given me plans for provisions down the line. Check that out. So he gave me plan, and then he said, I'm going to give you plan and plan on top of that. So you'll know where you're going without fail. Then he said, okay, I'm going to put you in a position where you can receive some training. Then I'm going to show you who's supposed to be over the ministry to tend to you while you tend to the sheep. So if you're launching ministry, man, you have to have an ear to hear. Now, the key thing is prayer.
Right.
If you're not sure, you need to sit down and be in prayer.
Have a relationship with the Father.
Amen.
It is what it is.
Sit down and be in prayer. Now, all those same things communicate to business as well. You need to go see somebody. You need to go ask somebody.
A mentor is good when starting a business.
Exactly.
I think a lot of business hinder themselves because they're in competition with each other. I think a lot of business hindering themselves, they're in competition. In order to get to the next level, it's okay to go with somebody that's already at the level that you are achieving to get to. Instead of having strife. There's a lot of jealousy that go on with business. But when I started out my business, I wanted to get under somebody that was already successful, because if you were the same level with me as myself, what can you teach me?
Wow.
So it's about being able to seek. You got to have a mentor. You want to be with like-minded individuals.
Right.
That's very imperative. And then also you got to be resilient, because you understand there's going to be ascending and descending all the time in business. It's like climbing a mountain. I was studying this the other night, and I talked to Monica about this. When people start climbing a mountain to reach the peak, well, the mountain climbers, they climb up so far and then they come back down, because the air gets thin as you go up and your body has to adjust to the air. It's the same with the business. You have to be prepared for receiving, giving, climbing, falling, all is part of that. But if you stand firm and have a solid foundation, which, our solid foundation is the Lord, of course, and have positive people around you, you can't do nothing but win. But you also have to leave room and say, okay, if I fail, that don't mean quit. That means push harder.
Right.
So that's
I totally
Can I
agree.
give us a mindset behind business, though? Like, here's my mindset behind business. There is no failure.
Right.
I have removed the thought of failing to me.
It's transitional thinking.
Absolutely. It was the trial that taught me the error. So now I know.
Come on here.
Now I know.
I like that.
You know
I
what
love
I'm saying?
that.
Now I know what I did wrong, so let's go fix it and try again. So there's never any failure. There's always progression if you take failure out of it.
Right, and you have to be able to distinguish impulse versus instinct. That's very important with business, because you'll meet people and instantaneously you have to be able to have discernment, impulse, intuition. All those play a part of being a successful business person.
Absolutely.
I agree. Look, I'm over here taking notes. Okay?
Wow.
Okay, I'm over here taking notes. Okay, I want to say this, because I am a publisher of a magazine, and then I have a nonprofit organization that is 501c3 exempt. And I actually did all that myself. And it's very important when doing business that you hear from God.
That's right.
And then just because God gives you something today doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to go out and do it tomorrow. Everything is in the timing of God. So we have to be very careful with rushing in business and rushing in ministry. Even for like myself, I just started going to ministry school. And I'm not going for a license. See, people have to check their motives when it comes to ministry. The Lord told me, he said, go and sit. I sat for about 3 years. And then I went to ministry class, because I started to, when you go and you sit, you're able to see different things, So you're now learning what to do, what not to do when your time comes. And then it's important that we go and we get that teaching. So then when you go and you get that teaching, and then you get the foundation of the word, just as well as in business, it's important that you go and you get with someone, like you were saying, who has experience in that area. So then you're learning. When I decided to do my magazine, I contacted someone who does Southern Dallas Magazine, I believe. I think his name is James. I don't know James' last name. James, I'm sorry if you're listening. But we went and we met at BJ's. Now, this man has a magazine. For him to help me with my magazine, that says something.
That's how
For him to give me the tools to do Divinity Divine Magazine, that says something about this man's maturity level, that says something about his character and his integrity. There are a lot of people in this day and time that do not want to help people birth anything.
That's right, because they're afraid of it.
And that's just
overshadow
true.
me.
And there's a spirit of competition,
Man,
you know, that's in the land where everybody feels as though, oh, well, you know, she gonna be better than me in this area. But let the truth be told, there's enough money out here for everybody. There's enough souls.